Well. Alright all, and welcome back to a new video, and a first video for a very long time. A couple of weeks that we've been off, just through a combination of things, but we're back for a little bit of a weekend preview. Not one of the great weekends to get stuck into, but still managed to try and find a winner or two, hopefully, out of these between Haydock, Punchestown and Cartmel tomorrow. Some interesting cards out there, a few jumps cards to get stuck into as well, which I'm looking forward to doing. So, as I say, I apologise greatly, haven't been around the last couple of weeks, haven't been around with Josh either to do videos. We've been extremely busy, myself included in that. I suppose just a little bit of an update of what that is. I've been working an awful lot in cricket commentary at the moment. That seems to be going very well. Games are being live streamed because obviously people can't go to games at the moment, and as long as people need games to be live streamed, I'm available to commentate. So that's been working well for me. I've obviously been on radio every Saturday morning for the last couple of weeks. Hopefully a few of you guys have been tuning into that and enjoying that. And also hopefully next week I will be starting off a little thing with Which Bookie over in England, which is just going to be a little kind of almost like a daily nap sort of thing, or certainly a nap every 1 or 2 days over on Twitter. So if you haven't followed me on Twitter, go over and follow me there, because I have been putting up day-to-day tips here and there with some success. May has overall been a good month. I've been quite limited with what I've backed, but it's overall been a good month, so hopefully we can finish it well with a winner or two tomorrow. As I say, this is a real odds and sods. I've got 3 from Haydock, 2 from Punchestown and 2 from Cartmel. I'm going to whiz through it pretty quickly because it's going to be a snappy video, just to keep you guys really in the loop. I want to keep doing videos, obviously. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to doing them weekly, and certainly for the big festivals, the likes of Royal Ascot, Goodwood, Galway, I won't be missing out on the opportunity for day-to-day videos. Starting off with Haydock, though, the 145, 6 furlong handicap, tricky enough race, plenty of runners in there, but a horse I do like, and a horse I put up in my flat horses to follow, is a horse called Bielsa, who came second on his reappearance up at Ayr, then finished 5th at York when he was very well backed for a big 6 furlong handicap there. He ran better than the finishing position of 5th would indicate. I thought a half furlong out he was going to win. He ended up weakening late, but he's back in here. He's been dropped another pound, back down to a mark of 95. Sylvester de Souza takes the ride for Kevin Ryan. He's 13-2 each way. I think that's going to be a safe enough play. I'd be disappointed if he isn't in and about the finish there. He seems to like soft ground. 6 furlongs is his trip. And at Haydock, hopefully he can run a very good race. You have to be wary about this soft ground at Haydock because it does get very deep very quickly. But Bielsa for me in the big sprint handicap. The 255 is the Pinnacle Stakes over 1.5 miles, and I'm going to be going for David Simcock's charge in this Oriental Mystique, who's 3-1. She was pulled actually out of a Sandown race there last night, I believe, and they're favouring this race instead. Oisin Murphy takes the ride. She's currently 3-1 best price, and I think that's fair. She was a very good third on her reappearance at Goodwood in a 4-runner race, but only beaten a length by Alpinista, who runs in the same ownership for Sir Mark Prescott, who's a very good progressive filly, was second to Love last year at York in the Yorkshire Oaks. So that seems good enough form. She was second in a Group 2, only beaten a half length at Longclaw last year, a 3-year-old Group 2 Oriental Mystique. So she has plenty of form in the book. Cabaletta ran okay on her reappearance, buying Queen Power at York, but was beaten the height of 12-13 lengths in that performance, and she's 13-8, which seems skimpy for Roger Varian's filly. So I'm going to take on Oriental Mystique here. I'm going to take on Cabaletta with Oriental Mystique at 3-1. I think she's got a fair bit going for her. She should handle the ground okay. 1.5 miles seems to be her trip, and hopefully she can run a big race. And the 330, the John O'Gunn Stakes, a horse that I actually quite liked in the without market and the each way market for the Lockage, but ran an absolute stinker, was this Safe Voyage, who's back kind of probably in his class a race here. Now he holds a £5. He's going to have to carry a £5 penalty in this race, but he's 3-1 best price as favourite. I think, though, he'll take the world of beating back in a Group 3, to be honest, over 7 furlongs, which is probably his ideal trip. Soft ground, which is probably ideal. He won the Boomerang Stakes at Leopardstown on Champions Weekend, beating Sinawam by a nose. That gave us all a very good day. Then went on to run a massive race in the Prix de la Forêt. He's a horse I like a lot. Very hard not to like him. This 8-year-old for John Quinn. Jason Hart takes the ride. And I do believe if he was to recapture some of that best form, you do have to take the risk that he ran an absolute stinker in the Lockinge and came, I think, dead last. But he is back to a Group 3 here, back to probably a more favoured, you know, bread and butter course and distance with the ground to his favour. I think he takes a lot of beating, and I'll be putting him up at 3 to 1. It's a working man's price. You can have a you know, you can win a bit of money at a 3 to 1 sort of price. So I'm going to put him up in the John O'Gunt. Moving on to Punchestown, I'm just going to cover the big handicap chase and the big handicap hurdle. And the handicap chase, these two races haven't got prices, so I do bear that in mind, and I'm taking them off the predicted prices at the bottom, which isn't always the greatest thing to do, but I'll update when I've actually got a price and I've taken it. The 150, a horse that I suspect could well end up turning into this year's Capucha mix for me. Another Henry de Bromhead horse, and it's a horse called Zarkareva, who I think actually has a good chance in this off a mark 128. She's a mare who's frustrating. She has more ability than a horse of 128 would indicate, but her jumping can leave a bit to be desired at times. But that being said, she does like running at this time of year, and she won a couple of races in the summer last year, including at Punchestown over 2 mile 2. This is over 2 miles. She's off a mark 128, as I alluded to. Dylan Robinson takes £3 off as well. And the fact that Battle Over Doyen is in the race means these weights are completely skewed. She's off 9 stone 12 here. She's off an absolute featherweight, and if she can get into any type of rhythm, she'll be held up more than likely. I think she could play a good part in this race. She's 7 to 1 on the predicted prices. That's an each way bet for me. I think she could do very well here. Henry de Bromhead has 3 in it. Le Musny, who Rachel Blackmore rides, ran in a couple of beginners' chases, potentially could be well handicapped, and Tiger Voice, who's not a horse that's ever done it for me. So I'm going to take Zarkareva. She is better than 128. She doesn't always show it, but hopefully if she puts her right foot forward, she could have a chance. The 410 competitive handicap hurdle, I'm going to go with John McConnell's horse in this Longclaw. It was actually trained by Gordon Elliott last summer and won a couple of nice juvenile events, including beating Jeff Kidder on hurdling debut by 6 lengths, and that form's obviously been franked an awful lot. Since joining John McConnell, since the whole Gordon Elliott saga, ran, you know, a below par race in the Fred Winter, and has ran now 2 stinkers on the flat, but returns to hurdles here off a mark 127 with Brian Hayes taking the ride, and gets a 4-year-old age allowance in this handicap as well, so it's actually down the weights more than you'd think he should be. Predicted price is 14 to 1. I think you might be able to get a juicy enough price about this Longclaw, and I think he could go well. If he returns to anything like his summer form from last year, I think he could take a world of beating actually in this type of race. I think he could be a very well handicapped horse, and he should be right near the top of the weights with his rating, but in fact is I think off 10 stone 9. Is down in effect with the horses rated 121, 122, so is somewhat well in at those weights with the age allowance, and I think he could run a good race for John McConnell's team. At Cartmel, just going for 2 course specialists over in Cartmel. I do love course and distance form. I love course specialists. And the 210, the big 3 mile, 1 furlong handicap chase, a horse called Dee Star. He's seen it all at this stage, Dee Star. He's not getting any younger, but he's 17 to 2. I'm going to take that each way. There's 8 runners in the race, I think. There's 8 or 9 runners actually, so should be grand from an each-way perspective for Gary Hanmer. And Henry Brook has just brilliant course form. Has won over the course before, has come second a couple of times over the course last summer as well. And if you don't know Cartmel, it is a specialist type of course. It's a weird course. They take some strange enough routes. There's a long kind of gap between the last fence and the finish line. There's just a few weird intricacies about the course. And I think Dee Star knows it all there, has ran some good races against better type of opposition. It's down to a mark of 94, which seems low considering he came second off marks of 97 and 100 over this course and distance this time last year. I think he could take a good chance in this at 17 to 2. And the 355, a competitive Class 2 handicap hurdle, the likes of Sebastopol in there. I quite like Tristan Davidson's horse in this, Justatenner, who's 8-1 for Harry Reid taking the ride off mark 133. He's off a career high mark, and he could well have just reached his ceiling at this stage. But look at this horse's form over course and distance, and just the course in general. It is absolutely superb. I think he's won 3 or 4 times and has come second 3 or 4 times in 7 or 8 visits. It is absolutely superb, and I'm just taking it that potentially a return to this course, to this sort of race, will actually seem to best effect, and he might be able to defy such a high mark of 133. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I hope you guys haven't been too disappointed by the lack of videos over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll get back into some sort of rhythm in terms of doing a few weekly videos, and then getting into the Royal Ascot stuff, and Goodwood, and Galway, and all those sort of festivals on a day-to-day basis later on in the summer. Of course, let me know your main fancies for tomorrow's racing. I think it's trappy racing. I've given you 7 from across the cards. Hopefully 1 or 2 of them can land, and we can have a decent enough day. But of course, let me know your thoughts on my selections, your thoughts on your own selections as well. Who do you think has a good chance in tomorrow's racing at any of the tracks? Do let us all know down below. And of course, until next time, where hopefully I'll be seeing you next week, looking ahead to the big races at Epsom, the Oaks, the Derby, the Coronation Cup, and everything in between. Hope you stay safe, stay well, land a few bets, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.